Hi, Bill.
You ready? We're on.
Okay.
Okay, Josh, you're the director of jazz programs at Rio Americano High School?
Yeah, band director, and I run 2 of the 3 jazz bands here at Rio.
Okay, and Rio doesn't have a long history of being involved in traditional jazz, but when I say long, I mean 20 years.
Yeah.
But over the past, I would say 10 to 15 years, you've encouraged more of your students to come to the Teagarden Jazz Camp.
Yep.
And I'd be curious to know what effect the experience they have at the camp has on them in a different jazz context and what they've done with it on their own in traditional jazz.
Yeah, well, I feel like the camp actually really ties in perfectly with what I really believe in music education, which is that you need to honor the tradition when you're learning the music. And I think there's absolutely no better place for kids to do that than at the Teagarden camp, because they're learning how to play music, how to play jazz, from the roots, from the ground up, and they're learning how to improvise melodically and be real creative musicians. And
Yes.
that's something that when they come here, and we're doing swing era things, or we're doing more modern things, or we're playing bebop, whatever it is, they bring that sensibility to that music, and it just sounds so much more mature and intelligent when they have that kind of background. So whether they choose to play that style of music or something else, it's so much more meaningful when they have that foundation.
Yeah, I totally agree. Wynton Marsalis talks about this.
He certainly does.
Almost ad nauseum.
Yeah.
That if you're going to play jazz here in a modern setting, using the modern tools and the modern sensibility, that if you come from the tradition, you're well grounded in
That's right.
what jazz is basically about. A lot of that is improvisation.
Absolutely.
And the melodic approach to improvisation, it leads to, in my opinion, and I want to hear your thoughts about
Sure.
this, that it's almost on the fly arranging.
Yeah.
And
When it's done well.
And the
Absolutely.
solos are on the fly composing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that they dovetail nicely with whatever other musical pursuits young people are going to follow.
Definitely. And I feel like it also is music that encourages personality, and that's something that can be very lacking in some modern jazz, where you'll hear players and have no idea who they are, just that they're technically proficient. And when you listen to the great early jazz players, there's no mistaking who they are. You know exactly from one note, and for my kids to develop a little bit of that is something that I really value.
Yeah, and they actually, in a traditional setting, feel free to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
Which is, there's not the level of pressure that they feel from having to display a lot of technique and knowledge.
Sure.
They can play more from within.
Right. Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, and that's why, like at the camp, you have kids who are at all levels.
Sure.
You have kids who are kind of just starting on their instruments, and then you have kids who are really basically pros, and everyone in between. And that's what's so great about this music is you can play really, really complex stuff like high society and everything like that, or you can start and play ice cream, as one of the bands always does. And it's a place for kids to start. Yes. And it's really fun, and it gets them to have the joy for the music that I think is just absolutely essential.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good place to stop.
All right.
We got the joy. We're done.
Oh, my pleasure.